Hello and welcome to the guide. Are you looking for a build that has extremely good clear speed, excellent defense, and can delete bosses while being able to take on all of the content Path of Exile has to offer? Then the Cast on Crit Ice Spear Assassin is the build you have been looking for. In this easy to follow guide, we will go over the mechanics of the build, gear, gems and links, Ascendancy choices, Pantheon choices, the passive tree, jewels and cluster jewels, and Cast on Crit Trigger Rate, followed up by gameplay at the end of the video. Timestamps and path of building will be down below. Let's get right into it. For the mechanics of the build, as the name implies, we will be casting on Critical Strike. So right here in the Cospri's Malice, as you can see, the Cospri's Malice trigger a socketed cold spell on melee Critical Strike. Inside of the Cospri's we have Ice Spear, which will be our main damage from the Cospri's. And then in our chest, we will also be casting on Critical Strike thanks to the support right here. We have Ice Spear that we'll be casting, and also we'll be casting Creeping Frost. Our main damage output with the build will be cold damage. The way that we will be proccing our cast on crit inside of the chest is with Cyclone. Cyclone has a lot of attacks per second, which will be a good way to consistently proc our cast on crit inside of our chest. Now let's get into the gear for the build. For our weapon, we're going to need a Cospri's Malice. The reason that we're going to need the Cospri's Malice, as you can see on the top line, trigger a socketed cold spell on melee Critical Strike. Basically, we're going to be able to trigger our Ice Spear because of the Cospri's Malice. Now, I don't have a corrupted Cospri's. You can get a corrupted Cospri's with the implicit modifier, fires one additional projectile, which is nice to have. It's definitely going to bring our price up on that though. Now for the helm, we want to get the Blizzard Crown. The reason that we want to get the Blizzard Crown is because it adds 83 to 127 flat cold damage, which is a great boost for our damage. Don't worry about the Herald of Thunder has reduced mana reservation. If you are going to get an enchantment for the Blizzard Crown, you want to try to go with Ice Spear, fires an additional projectile. The main thing that we want to get here on our Blizzard Crown is that we want to get 1 to maximum power charges. We're going to be stacking power charges in this build, so the 1 to maximum power charges is the most important thing that you want to get on the helm. Also, you want to try to get, like I have right there crafted on the bottom, projectiles pierce an additional target. That's going to be our only pierce in the build so that we don't have to try to take any on the tree. We won't be around any pierce on the tree, so we definitely want to get at least the pierce right here on the helm. Now when it comes to the helm, you can also get, minus 9 to cold resistance, enemy cold resistance, or even the elevated version you get minus 12 to enemy cold resistance. Now keep in mind, the price of this helm is just going to keep going up and up. So at least, very least, try to get the +1 to maximum power charges on your helm. Now over here into the shield. When it comes to the shield, I went with the Supreme Spike Shield. We want to pretty much try to go with that, with a high evasion rating and a high energy shield rating. That's going to give us obviously more evasion, which is good. And then, we're a CI build, so as much energy shield as possible is what we want to get. And then other stats on your shield, just go for, resistances, pretty much whatever else you can get on there. When it comes to the amulet, we only have one choice for this. We want to go with the Badge of the Brotherhood. As you can see on the top, your maximum frenzy charges is equal to your maximum power charges. But by having this amulet alone, it makes it to where the amount of power charges we have will be equivalent to the amount of frenzy charges that we can have, which is awesome. So we definitely want to go with the Badge of the Brotherhood. For your allocation, we want to go with Tranquility. Now, Tranquility gives us increased maximum energy shield and also gives us Transfiguration of the Soul. Now, as you can see at the bottom, what Transfiguration of the Soul does, increases and reductions to maximum energy shield also applies to spell damage at 30% of their value. So basically, any increases that we have to our maximum energy shield is going to apply to our spell damage, which is overall our damage in the build. And we will also get more into that in the passive tree. I'll show you where it's at. Right here, for the armor, we want to go with the Val Regalia. Now, we go with the Val Regalia because obviously that's going to have the highest base energy shield, and we are a CI build, so we want to get as much energy shield as possible. Now, one thing that we definitely need on the armor is the 10% chance to gain a frenzy charge on hit. That is very important because that is going to be the way that we are able to generate our frenzy charges. As you remember with the Badge of the Brotherhood, we get equal frenzy charges to our power charges. So definitely want to go for the 10% chance to gain a frenzy charge on hit. And then you definitely want to try to get attacks have, percent to critical strike chance. Right here, I have, 1.48%, and that is tier 1. Now, other mods that you want to go for on there, like I have the spell crit chance on there also. Not a big deal. I mean, it's nice to have, but you don't need that. You just want to try to get the frenzy charge and the attack crit chance on your chest. And then also, if you can get the highest energy shield that you possibly can get, that's a good way to go. You know, I have 529 energy shield, which isn't bad. Just know that the chest is pretty pricey, so the higher that you go up with the energy shield, the more the cost is going to go up. As for our rings, okay, on one of your rings, you definitely want to get, as you can see down there at the bottom, curse enemies with frostbite on hit with 32% increased effect. The curse on hit is a given. We need it in the build. It's going to be a big damage source for the build. As far as other mods on the ring, just try to get, you know, flat energy shield. Try to get your resistances taken care of, and definitely try to go for your accuracy if you're able to get it on your ring, because we want to get our hit chance up to 100% so that we're not, you know, missing any of our attacks. Down at the bottom, I have non-channeling skills, have the minus to mana cost. We definitely want to go with that. Not so much for when we're channeling Cyclone in our chest, but the reason that we want the minus mana cost is for everything else that we do. Because as you can see over here, you know, I have 139 unreserved mana only, so we have minus mana cost on here. Now into the next ring, we also have the minus mana cost, as you can see. I got, you know, 446 to accuracy, flat energy shield, and basically went for resistances. Okay, you want to try to get your resistances, get your accuracy on your rings, very important. You know, any other mods that you can get, if you can get, you know, flat cold damage to spells or whatever else you can get is great, but definitely try to go for your, at least your accuracy, your flat energy shield, and your resistances, and then, like I said, also your minus to mana cost on your other ring as well. Down into the belt. Now we're going to definitely go with the crystal belt. On here, we want to go with the Crusader Influence crystal belt. That way we're able to get the flat maximum energy shield and the percent increased maximum energy shield. As you can see right there, I have 60 to flat and 18% increased maximum energy shield. You know, and then try to get whatever else you can on there. You know, resistances, strength, and dexterity. Now for the Cosprees, we're going to need, you know, obviously a lot of intelligence, which really isn't a problem, but we need, as you can see right there, 212 dex, and then we're going to need about, you know, 70 at least on the strength. So we want to try to get strength and dexterity wherever we can get it. Into the gloves. Now when it comes to the gloves, we want to go with the fingerless silk gloves. The reason that we're going to go with that base is because, as you can see, the implicit on there is 16% increased spell damage up there at the top, which obviously right off the bat gives us damage for our build. Now I got the mod with increased global critical strike chance, 30% increased elemental damage if you've crit recently, which both of those are awesome mods for the build. But the main one here, and also I have attack speed, which we want to try to get as much attack speed as possible too. But the main one that you want here on the gloves, as you can see right there, is Culling Strike. Culling Strike means enemies that are on 10% or lower life after you're hit or killed. So basically with Culling Strike, that's a huge damage boost. Anything that gets to 10% life or lower is automatically dead. And when I say anything, I mean all bosses, all monsters, everything. So you definitely want to get the Culling Strike on your gloves, and then get whatever else damage mods that you can possibly get on there. Attack speed, you know, resistances. Try to get as much energy shield on your gloves as you can. Now for the boots. Okay, so I have boots right here with 30% increased movement speed, cannot be chilled, which is really nice. Stun block recovery, 15% increased cooldown recovery rate, which you don't have to have, but is nice to have. And also I got the tailwind when you deal a critical strike. So pretty much our tailwind will be up all the time. So if you are able to afford tailwind boots, you definitely want to try to go with that. You can get even more upgraded boots with cannot be frozen, which I might add to these later. You know, more energy shield, whatever other stats you can get, you know, resistances. But I would say to at least try to get, you know, 30% base movement speed and go with an energy shield base boot. Because obviously, like I said, again, you know, we're a CI build and we want to get as much energy shield as possible. Now down here into the flasks. For the first flask, we want to go with the Dying Sun Ruby Flask. Now we definitely want to have this. The main thing from this flask is that skills fire skills fire 2 additional projectiles during the flask effect, which obviously is really nice for the build. Gives us 15% increased area of effect during flask effect. Dying Sun is a given. We definitely want to have this for the build. You know, and I have this set to where used when you hit a rare unique enemy, if not already in effect. Right here, now we definitely want to get a Onslaught Flask. You know, the Silver Flask is very important for the build. We want to have Onslaught. That gives us 20% movement speed and attack speed, which is huge for the build. We definitely want to go with that. You know, on here I got my freeze immunity. Obviously, in the boots I already had the chill, or I'm sorry, cannot be chilled. But down here, you know, obviously we don't want to be frozen either. So you want to go with freeze immunity on your flask right here. Next up, now we have Bottled Faith right here. But what Bottled Faith does is it gives us a huge increase. Well, as you can see down there, 148% increased critical strike chance against enemies on consecrated ground during flask effect. When you use the Bottled Faith, it gives you, you know, consecrated ground with triple radius, so a huge area of consecrated ground. On the consecrated ground, enemies take more damage. And also at the top, you can see because it's a sulfur flask, it gives us 40% increased damage. Now, take into consideration, you know, for this one right here, I think I paid 22x. At the time of this recording, these are going from 19 to like 25x, just depending on stats. So this is definitely more expensive in the build. Now, if you can't afford this, go ahead and take this out. And in this spot, just run the diamond flask right here. Now, when it comes to the diamond flask, if you're running only the diamond flask, you can go right here with this one and get your bleed immunity. Not so much worried about the corrupted blood. When we get into the jewel section, I'll show you I have a jewel for corrupted blood. But we definitely want to get the bleed immunity on at least one of our flasks. So when it comes to the diamond flask, you know, we want the crit chance. And you can put that in place of the Bottled Faith if you need to. Okay, we'll take that back out, put that there. All right, so into the mana. When it comes to the mana flask, you want to go for the exact mana flask that I have right here, the Enduring Eternal Mana Flask of Efficiency. Now, the reason that you want to go for this is that it obviously tops us off with our mana, but also the flask effect is not removed when the unreserved mana is filled, meaning we have a longer flask effect duration. We'll go the full 7 seconds with the flask effect. Now, during that 7 seconds of the flask effect, we also get 15% reduced mana cost of skills during flask effect, as you can see right down there at the bottom, which greatly helps us out with our mana problems on the build. So you definitely want to have a mana flask just like this one in the build. Now, for our last flask, I have, you know, the Quicksilver flask. Now, as you can see on here, I have our Corrupted Blood immunity also, like I had on the Diamond flask down here. Now, if you have the Bottled Faith, in any boss fights or harder encounters, harder bosses that you fight, Cyrus, Maven, whatever, go ahead and take this out and just put in your Diamond flask so that we're bringing our crit chance. We already have a super huge crit chance as it is, but we're getting our crit chance even higher with the Diamond flask and the Sulfur flask. So overall, this will be our more damage output right here. So for bosses, if you have the Bottled Faith, go ahead and put in the Diamond flask in place of the Quicksilver flask. For our gems and links, we'll start off right here in the weapon. We're going to go for Ice Spear, Inspiration Support, and Greater Multiple Projectiles. Now, for the Inspiration, we want to try to go with the Divergent. As you can see, supported skills have 44% reduced mana cost. Now, normally, the regular version has 34% reduced mana cost, but with the Divergent one, we get 10% reduced mana cost on top of the 34%. As an additional effect. So we want to try to go for Divergent on the Inspiration. When it comes to the GMP up here, as you can see, supported skills fire 4 additional projectiles. Now we can get the Awakened version of this gem. Now keep in mind, at the time of the video, the Awakened version is 25x, and we use 2 of these gems, one right here and one in the chest. So if you want to spend, you know, an extra 50x, then you can have 2 additional projectiles. That's all up to you. Into the helmet. We'll start off right up here. We want Vortex, Bone Chill support, X-Touch support, and Elemental Weakness. Now, we'll be casting the Vortex, which in turn will have this linked to it and be casting these as well. Basically, this will be our second curse that we'll be putting off, and it's going to be ramping our cold damage because of all the added increases. Huge plus to the build, so we definitely want to have this inside of the helm. Right here inside of the shield. Now, right here I have Enlighten, Righteous Fire, and Precision. Okay, I have level 21 Precision. So while mapping and doing easier bosses and stuff, I run the Enlighten. Okay, because we only have 139 mana. I'm just trying to keep our mana as nice and smooth as possible. Now you can take and switch out the Enlighten with Frost Bomb for bossing, so that you can cast this on top of bosses, which is nice to have. Gives cold exposure, makes it to where it brings their regeneration down and everything else. But for general stuff and most of the time, I just run around with Enlighten, Righteous Fire, and Precision. You definitely want to try to get as high a level of precision as you can, as precision gives us increased critical strike chance, and on top of that, increased accuracy. Down here into the chest. So we'll start off right here. We have Cyclone, Awaken Cast on Crit, Ice Spear, Inspiration, Creeping Frost, and GMP. Now you want to try to go for the Divergent Cyclone if you can, because what the additional effect from the quality gives is 5% more movement speed. Now as you can see right up on top, it says 30% less movement speed with Cyclone. Now with that 5% more, as you can see, it brings it down to 25% less movement speed. So basically, we're able to clear packs quicker and get through packs quicker with the Divergent Cyclone, which is more expensive. Now, when it comes to the cast on crit support, you can use the Awaken version or the regular version. Now, when you use the Awaken version, you are going to be better off, and it's going to give you increased cooldown recovery rate, which we will get into more later in the guide. But basically, if you can afford the Awaken version, go for the Awaken version. If you can only afford the regular version, go for the regular version. Next, we have Ice Spear. And by the way, on Ice Spear, try to get level 21s if you can, right here and inside of your weapon. Now in here, again, we have Divergent Inspiration support. It's basically for the higher reduced mana cost of our skills, plus damage. Next, we have Creeping Frost. And also we have greater multiple projectiles again. Down here into the boots, we have Dash, Summon Ice Golem, Second Wind, and Arcane Surge. Now, you want to keep your Arcane Surge at a level to where if you Flame Dash one time, like that, you see right here going around me, my Arcane Surge is up here. Now, what Arcane Surge does, as you can see down there, it says, second line down, Arcane Surge grants 13% more spell damage. So that is a more multiplier to all of your overall spell damage. Any damage that you do in the build that is spell damage will be doing 13% more damage with Arcane Surge. So we want to try to keep that up as often as possible. So keeping it at a lower level to where anytime that I dash around, it automatically comes up. It'll keep our damage ramped up at all times too. So try to keep it at whatever level you need to keep it up at all times. Now, into the gloves right here, we have Herald of Ice, Hatred, Enlighten, and Discipline. Now, you can get an Enlighten 4, which will make it to where you have even more mana. Obviously, the price is going to go up with that. You want to go for a 21-20 on the Herald of Ice. You definitely want to go for a 21 on the Hatred. You know, Hatred and Herald of Ice. Herald of Ice is going to be blowing everything up on the map for us, which is great. Hatred is going to be our main damage aura, so try to get a 21 on that. And then Discipline, obviously we're going to be running Discipline. If you can get a 21 on the Discipline, that'll give you a little bit more energy shield. But Discipline is huge in this build, and we also will be using Val Discipline. And like I said, when it comes to the Enlighten, you know, I just have 3 because of all the minus mana costs I have everywhere else. If you can get a 4, that'll give you even more mana. That will be great. Now for our Ascendancy choices, we're going to come down here into Unstable Infusion. You know, it makes it to where we can gain a power charge on Critical Strike. 20% chance to gain a power charge on non-critical strike, you know, 1 to our maximum power charges. Next, we're going to come over here to Mistwalker, get Elusive, and we take no extra damage from critical strikes while we have Elusive. Next, we'll come down here to Deadly Infusion, 5% to critical strike multiplier per power charge, and 1.5% critical strike chance while at maximum power charges. And then last but not least, we'll come over here to Opportunistic. You know, damage from your critical strikes cannot be reflected, but also it gives us 25% more damage while there is at most 1 rare or unique enemy nearby, and 20% reduced damage taken while there is at least 2 rare or unique enemies nearby. For our Pantheon choices, right up here, for our Major God, we're going to go with Soul of the Brain King. Now, when it comes to the Major God, I wouldn't choose any other choice other than Soul of the Brain King, and the reason why is because, as you can see on top, you cannot be stunned if you've been stunned or blocked a stunning hit in the past 2 seconds, 30% increased stun and block recovery, and you cannot be frozen if you've been frozen recently. Now, the main thing that we want here is the stun immunity in the past 2 seconds and also the stun and block recovery. Now, being that we're, you know, CI and we're, you know, cycling through packs, we're going to be getting stunned left and right. And without this, you're going to get stun locked a lot and probably die a lot of times from being stun locked. So when it comes to the major god, definitely go for this one right here, Soul of the Bryn King, and unlock all of the things that you can for it. The only reason that I didn't unlock the 50% reduced effective chill on you is because on my boots I have chill immunity. So definitely for the major god, go Soul of the Bryn King. Now when it comes to the minor god, you have a little bit of flexibility. The way that I went with this is for Soul of Aberrath for the minor god, or I'm sorry, Soul of Aberrath. The reason that I went with that is, 5% reduced fire damage taken while moving, unaffected by burning ground, which is nice when you're a CI build because, burning ground is going to deplete your energy shield and makes it to where it can't recharge. So the unaffected by burning ground is really nice. And then also down below, 50% reduced ignite duration on you, 10% increased movement speed while on burning ground. So actually it turns burning ground into a plus for the build. And also the 50% reduced ignite duration is really nice to have. So for me, I go with Soul of Aberrath for the minor god. Now for the passive tree. So I want to start off by saying in Act 2, you want to go ahead and kill all of the bandits so that we get the 2 passive points. Also for our allocation, it will be Tranquility up here. It's going to be a blue and 2 gold. So we're going to start off here, come around this way, come up here, get coordination for some attack speed, dex, and intelligence. We're going to come down this way, get this little cluster of depth of perception right here. Basically for our accuracy, critical strike chance, dexterity. We're going to want to come over to here, get this socket. Come up here. We want to get this power charge over here. We're going to be grabbing all the power charges on the tree. We're going to come down here, come over here to get a little bit of projectile speed, damage, and area of effect. We'll come down to assassination for crit chance and crit multi. Come across this way. We're going to come down here so we can get this whole wheel of melding right here. Come down here for this socket. We're going to come up this way, come over to here, come down here for effect of our auras and mana reservation. Now we're going to come up here for chaos inoculation. Obviously, we're a CI build. It's going to bring our health down to 1. We'll be immune to chaos damage, and it will be all energy shield. We're going to come over here to Whispers of Doom so we can apply 2 curses. Now obviously we have the cluster we'll go into here in just a minute. You want to come up this way, grab this critical strike multiplier from right here for Throat Seeker. Now we're going to come across this way, come down, get this socket, get this power charge right here. Come across this way, come up here, up to Discipline of the Forbidden, gives us +1 to power charges and then benefits for power charges. We're going to come down here, get Unnatural Calm for energy shield. Come down this way, we're going to get this other cluster jewel set up right here. We'll go over that in just a minute also. Now we're going to come down here. We want to get Zealot's Oath. Basically, we'll turn all of our life regeneration into energy shield regeneration. And then we're going to come down this way at the end, and we'll get this jewel socket down here for Transcendent Flesh. While we're over here, we're going to also grab this power charge right here. Now this tree is for level 93. That is the level that I have the build to right now. Now, as soon as I hit level 94, as you can see, I have these 3 points that I put in last right here, from 90 to 93. As soon as I hit 94, I'm going to respec all 3 of these, and I'm actually going to come down here, over into here, Foresight. With these 2 nodes, along with the intelligence right here, you're going to get a lot more energy shield than you would from these 3 right here. So once you get up to 94, and come down here, spec over this way, and then after that, you'll want to come over this direction, and then come down and grab this jewel socket down here. As for leveling the build, the way that I leveled the build was as Toxic Rain. Obviously, we're over in this side of the tree next to all the bow nodes and everything else. So, grab yourself some cheap gear, the Tabula Rasa, and just level as Toxic Rain. In my opinion, that would be the easiest way to level the build. For the jewels on the build, start off right here. In this exact spot, we want to go with Energy from Within Cobalt Jewel. Now, as you can see, this gives us 6% increased maximum energy shield, and then also increases and reductions to life and radius are transformed to apply to energy shield, which helps this wheel right here, transforming it all into energy shield. So you can see from this wheel, we get a ton of maximum energy shield. So right here, Energy from Within, Cobalt Jewel. Okay, so over here, I have a Watcher's Eye. Now, you want to at least get yourself a Watcher's Eye with the mod on the bottom, 28 energy shield gain for each enemy hit while affected by Discipline. This is essentially going to be like your life leech, or should I say your energy shield leech for the build. Gives you a ton of leech, great to have. If you can get other mods on here, like a hatred mod, maybe -2 enemies cold resistance, or whatever mods you can get other than that discipline mod, go ahead and go for it. Just know the Watcher's Eyes are very, very pricey. Now up into the actual jewels. Right here I have 5% increased attack speed, 18% to critical strike multiplier with cold skills, and maximum energy shield, 3 energy shield gain on hit with attacks. You know, over here we have my corrupted blood. Definitely get one with corrupted blood on it if you can. 18% to crit multi with cold skills, maximum energy shield. So basically with your jewels, you want to go with cobalt jewels so you can get the maximum energy shield percent, and then you want to go with as much crit multi as you can, whether it's global, critical strike multiplier with cold skills, critical strike multiplier with elemental skills, with, you know, go for as much crit multi as you can and as much attack speed as you can on top of your maximum energy shield. Now keep in mind, these jewels are very expensive. I mean, if you get like a triple crit multi jewel, it can be extremely expensive. You know, on this one, you know, spell damage also is good for the build. Cold damage would be good for the build. You know, this one's pretty good. 12% spell damage, attack speed, crit multi, maximum energy shield. And then also right here, this is probably the most expensive one that I have. You know, I got Dex and Intelligence, 15% to critical strike multiplier for spells, 18 crit multi with cold skills, 8% maximum energy shield. Just like I said, remember that these jewels are going to run pretty expensive the more crit multi you get on them. And also with these jewels, you can fill out whatever stats you need or resistances you need. Now over here, we want to get a Thread of Hope. We want the large ring radius. Try to get the best when it comes to the mana to total all elemental resistances. You can go from 10 to 20. I got the -10. Now having this right here makes it to where we can allocate all of these nodes, which are really good for the build. You want to try to go with every one of these nodes that you can actually get. Okay. And for our final jewel in the build, we're going to get the Transcendent Flesh. Now, this is going to be at the very end, you know, when you're almost to level 90 is when you'll be coming up over this way. What Transcendent Flesh does is basically it gives us a ton of crit multi for the build. As you can see right there, 7% to critical strike multiplier per 10 strength on unallocated passives and radius. So every spot where you see strength that is not allocated right here, we're getting critical strike multiplier. So I think this gives us around like 45 to 50% increased critical strike multiplier, which is a huge damage boost for the build. Now for the cluster jewels. So we're going to be running 2 large cluster jewels and 4 medium cluster jewels. On our large, we want to try to get Blanketed Snow, Vengeful Commander, and Widespread Destruction. Now, definitely on the large, you want to go for 8 passive skill jewels. Right here, Vengeful Commander, it's going to boost our Hatred Aura by 15%. Obviously, more damage for the build. Blanketed Snow, damage penetrates 10% cold resistance against chilled enemies. Huge damage boost for the build. Okay, so on our first large cluster, we're going to go for our 2 medium clusters here. We want to go for at least 4 or 5 passive skills on all of our mediums. On this one, we have 4 passive skills. We have Self-Control and Replenishing Presence. Replenishing Presence gives us increased effect of our auras, and also 1% of regeneration, which will go over to our energy shield, because obviously we convert everything for energy shield right over here with Zealot's Oath. And then Self-Control gives us mana regeneration rate, and then also less reservation of discipline. Now, one of the medium cluster jewels that we're going to be running right here is going to be a 4 passive. It's going to be 3% increased effect of your curses, though. Okay. And the reason that we want this is so that we can get Evil Eye and Master of Fear. Evil Eye, enemies you curse take 5% increased damage. Nice boost. Non-cursed enemies you inflict non-cursed auras. Non-cursed enemies you inflict non-aura curses on are blinded for 4 seconds. So basically, all the enemies that we hit are going to be blinded for 4 seconds. Blinded enemies have their chance to hit cut in half. So basically, they're going to only be hitting you 50% of the time, which is like pretty much 50% evasion. So this is huge for the build. Master of Fear, enemies you curse are unnerved. Obviously, we're going to be cursing every enemy that we hit. Now, unnerved enemies take 10% increased spell damage. This is like a 10% more damage multiplier, like boost. It's a huge boost, okay? We want Master of Fear and Evil Eye for this one right here on the increased effect of your curses. Now over here, same thing on the large cluster, 8 passive, Blanketed Snow, Vengeful Commander, Widespread Destruction. Also, when it comes to the large cluster jewel, the reason that we go with these 3 is so that we get these 2 out here in the front, making it to where we don't have to allocate any of these back here. We're not actually going to touch any of these, so we're saving points. So, you know, once again, Blanketed Snow, Vengeful Commander. Over here, we're going to have the same 2 medium clusters as the 1 medium cluster over there. It's going to be the 3% increased effect of non-curse auras, 4 or 5 passive skills on each one, and then also you want to go with self-control and replenishing presence on both of them. So replenishing presence, self-control, replenishing presence. So we're going with 3 jewels similar to this one when it comes to the medium clusters, and then this one right here for our 4th medium cluster. Let's briefly go over the trigger rate of casting on crit with Cyclone. So basically right here you can see my main hand attack speed, and this is in Path of Building, is 84%. So I have 84% increased attack speed from all of the sources where I gain attack speed. Now with this attack speed and the attack speed from Cyclone itself, it's making my attack rate 10.85 per second. So I'm basically attacking 10.85 times per second with 84% increased attack speed. Okay? And that makes it to where my trigger rate over here is at 5.43. So with 10.85 attacks per second, I'm triggering my spells 5.43 times per second. Now, that's actually pretty close to the maximum of what you can get. You can actually get it up to 6 triggers per second, and you would need your attack speed and your attack rate right here to be at 12. So you would basically need to stack more attack speed. And you also need some cooldown recovery. Now, if you're running Awaken Cast on crit, you get 20+% of cooldown recovery right there. Also, I have 15% of cooldown recovery on my boots. So, you know, the more attacks that you can get per second, in turn is going to bring your trigger rate up per second, which in turn is going to bring your overall damage up. So try to get on your jewels and your gear as much attack speed as you possibly can, and also get a little bit of cooldown recovery. Try to go for that Awaken Cast on crit. If this guide has been helpful, consider checking out my channel for more content, and also consider subscribing. It helps the channel grow and would be greatly appreciated. I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys with some gameplay footage. Thank you for watching.